Welcome back, Pirate Crew, to another gameplay commentary video for this week. And this video is quite the doozy. Now, I know I had a Crocodile video last week, right? And I made a plethora of misplays. It was kind of horrifying to watch, but yeah, we can always improve. That's what's really cool about these videos. And fortunately, here I have a test game. This is not a tournament match versus my buddy Andrew Duvall, who's going to be playing red on the right. And I'm also getting Yami Yugi coached by Jonathan Rodriguez on the left. So we've got quite the stacked matchup where this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of moments in time where I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to talk about what's exactly going on in the game state. So I'm hoping that we can keep up and show you guys an absolutely amazing game and showcase exactly how you're supposed to play these matchups. Here in the West, we're very different than the East. So there's a lot of respect that we have to put on each other's cards, and you'll see it through the course of this game. I think this one really showcases fantastic learning experience for both me. I think you guys would enjoy it as well. So we opt to go second here. Interesting, right? And the reason we have denoted that is we played a bunch of games before this, but it just seems like I do need the extra draw as just in order to fit my curve better. The way that I've built my deck, the more Dawn that I have active, the more I can fit my curve, and as well as I get to 10 a little bit faster, which is kind of what Crocodile wants to do. Also putting my opponent, which is red, on odds. This is him using the 2k vanilla rush tactic, not a heavier version like myself. I do think the heavier Yeehaw Zoro version would do better against this specific Crocodile deck, but this version is the one that maybe potentially does better versus a wider field. So fortunately, I do make him go first, but he has the Nami, which is as good as it's going to get for him. That is the world champ difference, ladies and gentlemen. And here comes my turn one, Law Pass. Not great, right? So he goes to summon Eagle Robin, and he goes and he's like, let me stop myself and swing first, right? So let me stop right here in this video. When he swings, not attaching any Dawn, what does that denote to you guys? That denotes that either he's going to play a 3 or a 1 and a 2. And regardless of which, the 1 and a 2 is kind of scary because let's say it's VV Chopper or VV Nami. If it's VV Nami, we can choose to counter out of this, or we can choose to take this life, not a problem. If it's a Nico Robin, I immediately get punished because that card's going to eat my Law for free on the following turn. So the fact that he swings with 5, it's safer to take this block here than use any card in hand and play around the potential Nico Robin, because that card would absolutely destroy us if he plays that on curve here. Again, world champ different. He opened the God curve Nami Robin. Regardless of which, we argue that it just is better to do this. And then he drops the Sanji and the Chopper, which is arguably the worst combination of cards that it could have been for me. Now, I'm going to pause it one more time. Man, I do be doing a lot of pauses this video because there's just a lot to be noted. Over the course of playtesting, how does blue want to play into this red matchup, right? We've noticed that specifically mine is a more of a control-y, slow blue deck. I'm not Doflamingo. I can afford to wait on my attacks. I don't have to use my leader ability immediately to gain the value of my leader. My leader is almost certainly a vanilla till very late in the game. Because of this, I am not forced to attack with my leader at his life. And because of that, I don't have to play into the game plan that red has, which is, yeah, I'll hit him at life and then he'll double draw, right? And that's what he wants to do. So I can usually play a little bit more defensive and just play for the board and then play to get to the late game. But by playing Sanji, that immediately craps on that plan. The Sanji says, well, if you're not going to hit me, I'm going to hit me, and I'm going to make me gain the tempo. So by playing Chopper Sanji, not only does he have a card that defends the Sanji, he has a card that's going to double dip him on cards. So I now am forced to attack him and immediately throw out the window the game plan of the days of I can't attack him, and I had to play gently. So I'm talking to Jonathan about this, and you know, he has his own opinions about that whole mentality, but it's just, unfortunately, I think this is just the way it is. If Sanji's on the board, now I have to play a different game plan entirely, and I do take a hit on him. Here, I go 6 and 3. It's just the best way to go about it. Swing before you play your characters, because Jet Pistol is a real card, guys. Don't get Jet Pistols for free for lunch, breakfast, or dinner. I made that order completely incorrect, but it is what it is. So all 6. He was going to take it if I 5'd or I 6'd, but theoretically, if I'm gonna use all my Dawn, I don't have a Desert Spada at this time, and I went 6. But there's something to be said about swinging for 5 and leaving 1 up to make him fear the Spada. There's just no way I'm spotting after I Flamingo. It's just not value, but it is what it is. So we take the good gameplay and swing for 6, play the Flamingo, and we pass it on to our opponent, who's now at 5 Dawn, and he's got everything in the world. So he's going to want to use his Dawn effectively here. Nico Robin is a really solid card, as it adds pressure if he is top decks an Otama, a Law, anything like that. I'm in a very bad spot. He goes ahead and swings at life. It does hit the Desert Spada. Now, the reason I take these draws is because I know these cards off the top of my deck are very, very bad. And my next 2 turns are basically immediately committed by the cards that I saw on the Flamingo. So he's going to go ahead and I'm going to take that 8. I mean, that's 7. I can't really combo out of that 7 effectively. And I do need my Flamingo blocker to act as a hacker to kind of fight for this board state. So again, swing with leader first, so I don't have to commit my characters. He takes the free block because he says, now commit your character. So again, I committed to killing the Sanji. He allows the Sanji to go. Mini crisis averted. He just couldn't afford to defend it. The 4-on-3, he didn't have the 2Ks, and he would have had to lose a lot of his hand in order to do so, which may have not been better in the long run. So with the 6 Dawn up, tell me if you've seen this play before. Welcome to Limited Battles as we go the Sentomaru summon Pacifista for 6. So again, nothing for Nico Robin to kill, so we're playing around her as much as he could, but now Nico Robin, if she has nothing to kill with her effect, then she just swings with 5. 5 does force me to take the hit because I don't want to really over combo. He goes 5, I do combo out of the 5 by pitching a Flamingo blocker from hand. He goes and 4s at my Flamingo. I cannot afford to block that either, but because Sentomaru Pacifista is going to be my game plan. These are the cards that are going to allow me to get into the late game, and I do drop a Mihawk here. Not terrible, not fantastic. I'm staring down almost an entire board. He goes 6, and I blocked once. I had to defend versus 5 attacks that turn. So, and he's also keeping 2 up here. Now, I'm here talking about how this turn is going to work to Jonathan here, and I'm like, well, 3 of my Dawn is taxed by the Sentomaru, then I'm going to use the Sentomaru to attack aggressively, and then the rest of my turn is going to be used doing this, X, Y, and Z. So, all of this is very, very cool. All right? So, we have to play using 3 Dawn less, which now at our turn, which we are currently at 8, we're at 5. We're at a reasonable 5. So, we're arguing what our turn is going to be here, and there's just so much that needs to be done. Scary, scary, scary board states, but that is how it is. That's the One Piece. You can't, if you're playing these control decks, you can't fall under pressure. You see them summon the board, swarm the board, and you have to calm down, act with confidence, defend, and continue gaming. Persevere, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and 5 into the Robin. He double blocks it with 2 1Ks. And I'm like, well, Jonathan, this Sentomaru for sure is always going to swing. I go 6 at 5. He wants to defend the Zoro. So we're arguing how the turns should pass. And he's like, I'm going to use the guard point so I can keep it up for later. And I'm like, well, and he's like, wait, actually, I'm thinking about how much Dawn I have in my effective turn and how I'm going to use it. And he decides to use the Hawk instead. Although the Hawk doesn't kill anything here, it defends another attack, which again forces me to commit another character and effectively commits what's going on. I use my Sentomaru. That shouldn't have been there. I have too many all Sundays, and that one was sleeved incorrectly. So I want to go Pacifista Sunday here, but I must use the Crocodile. So I'll use the Crocodile and I'll -4 here. I think there's just so much going on that I think, funnily enough, he is missing. He should have dropped another card from his hand, but it's fine, whatever. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of craziness. There's a lot of back and forth from both of us. We're both trying to argue what's the best board state. And just because of the way that this board ended up, if he would have let another character die, I wouldn't have had to -4. But it is what it is. So we have to -4 and bounce his card and pass the turn. Now, the card we choose to bounce, this is an unfortunate scenario. We don't want to bounce, but we have to. We have to bounce this Nico Robin. As Nico Robin, again, just with 1 pistol or with 1 law activation makes her more live, which is much scarier. So I have to -4 to remove her from the board, which is really not what I want to do as Crocodile. I want to use my first -4 once I've gotten to 10 and use it on turns where I can go Flamingo flip, Mihawk flip. But versus red, I'm kind of under pressure right now, and I don't think I can handle it. It will crumble if I don't -4 here. So we do end up -4ing the Nico Robin. He goes 6 at 4. I cannot defend the Sentomaru, and theoretically, it's done enough. It's done. It's forced 2 cards out of his hand. It's summoned 2 Pacifistas, and it's created a position where I now have a win condition because of these Pacifistas. But I do be tapped on Dawn. And now I have 3 6Ks on the board. These guys are really, really real. This Crocodile is an amazing addition to my deck. Really, really do love this card. Yes, sure, he can pistol it, but if we're not putting cards in our deck that can be pistoled, then we're not playing like the majority of the cards in the game, because pistol is just that bananas. So, although his deck does have the perfect answer, you better have it, boy. And it doesn't seem like he has it. So he's really thinking about this turn. using Zoro's ability here to swing with 6 at the Sentamaru, making all of his cards 1k stronger. So that 4 Don under the Sai is effectively 5k, so it's a 9 on 6. 9 on 6 is just, with no events up, it's just too much for me. The way that I built this Crocodile deck is very event heavy and not very hard 2k combo heavy. So without having Dawn up, it's very hard for me to defend these board states. And then again, here's where we're taxed once again. We're taxed all over the place. We're taxed by our leader. We're taxed by Crocodile and so on and so forth. So my leader cleans up this Sai. 6 is most certainly going to be able to clean this. But here's what I'm talking about. Like, if he has no Dawn up, we know exactly he has 2 cards now. We shouldn't know that he has guard point, but like I'm playing around a potential 2k, 1k. And we're arguing like, well, if I swung with 5, would you let it go through? And he's like, yeah, I actually can't defend a 5. And it's more efficient for you to swing with 5 than it is to swing with 6. So we're like, oh, well, then I guess that makes my turn a little bit easier as I can play the 4 here. So I go to play Boa and then play 1 on the Crocodile. And actually, it's not a Boa Crocodile angle. It's not a Miss All Sunday angle either. There's so many weird angles. So we go 3 and 1 here instead, right? Oh, so scary. Because had we played the Boa, right? Again, I want to pause it here. If I had played the Boa, I wouldn't have access to my Love Beam. And I would have effectively had to play my turn very, very different. If my deck was built in a different manner and I had more 2k counters in it, then yes, the Boa plus the Crocodile would have been better because I can effectively use all my Dawn onto my board. But because I don't have enough 2k powers and I have to rely on events, I do have to have some Dawn up in order to defend the board states. I don't turn my Pacifista sideways because had I pressured him in another card, if it's pistol off the top, I'm kind of doomed. If I give him more cards, give him more rushers, I'm doomed. So I have to play in a position where it's much, much slower than is necessary. And you might opt to argue that it's not good, but it is what it is. So he'll go ahead and play Nami here. He goes and grabs the Usopp and he goes to play around my Love Beam with the Usopp. And I'm telling him, well, you can't really play around my Love Beam with Usopp because the moment you swing with anything, I'm going to block at the Crocodile and bottom deck your Usopp, keep my Love Beam alive for another card, and then I'll combo you. The name of the game for me is using my hand size to my advantage and overwhelming him slowly. Chip, chip, chip until I eventually have a true lethal. I don't want these maybe lethals. I want a true lethal. The one that cannot be comboed out of even if his hand is full of 2Ks. So this is one of the longer turns from the red player. He takes his time to really look through what he wants to do here. And it's tough. Because even though there's not a lot of in-between turn interactions, the fact that Crocodile is a point of interaction, and I have Love Beam up as well, there is a significant amount of interaction. I didn't draw Overheat this game. I do play an Overheat for this matchup because it is buybackable by Miss All Sunday, and it's really, really good into Usopp because I bounce him before he gets the draw. So I unfortunately don't see it. It is a one of, but that card is very, very good. I'm okay seeing Love Beam. I just need to see one of the 2-drop events, and then I can just recycle with Sunday over and over. So the reason this board state is so difficult is because if he attacks with the Nico Robin first, then I bottom deck the Vivi. If he attacks and I get the Desert Spotter back. If he attacks this way, then I can choose to play the All Sunday and play a little bit more defensively, and I get the value of my blockers. So he was really arguing that turn, and this is the way that we ended up going. He went Vivi, well, I think leader first, then Vivi, and now he still has access to the rest of the board. Now Nico Robin, again, because no Otamas and no laws have been drawn, he's not really activatable, and my guys are 6s, so even if you do see one, you're going to have to see multiples, and there's just no way. So he's going to go ahead, and he's going to swing at me with 6. I'm going to go and finally take this time to defend here, drop a 1k, and bottom deck a Nami. Another possible attacker gone. Crocodile, you've served me as double block. Bless you. So, he uses the rest of his Dawn to grab that Uda, and we shouldn't know that he has guard point in his hand, but by leaving that one up, we have to play around it. We know he has it because of what happened a couple of minutes ago in that Red Hawk shenanigan turn that happened. But it is what it is. So we'll go 5 at 2. That's my immediate move as a player, right? Because I see the one done up and I'm like, fudge, he's got 3 extra combo power that I have to play around. And then Jonathan's like, no, like if he's going to use it, make him use it. And at the same time, if he wants to attack with that Nami, make him pay for the Nami. And that's a interesting concept because in Zoro, Nami is an attacker, but you do have to commit 3 potential Dawn, right? 1 to Zoro, 2 to Nami to make her a 5. Is that taxing enough to warrant a hit? Jonathan says yes. leave the Nami up and make him have to pay those Dawn in order to do the damage and commit more of his turn, right? Because at the end of the day, he has to only work with 10 specific Dawn. If 2 of them are being used, if you want to think about it, 1/5 of his turn is being used to potentially use as a 5k attack. It's not terrible, but it's not something that I initially saw. So he's arguing go 5 at the VV, right? The 5 at the VV is gonna proc interaction, and this Nami isn't a true threat. It is a false threat. So I go ahead, I 6 at life, because I need to start putting some sort of damage into him, and I still have all this Dawn available. I go ahead and I really want to play this Boa here, but I cannot do that. I am forced to. The more defensive play is to go Gecko Moria, add back the Mihawk, and keep 3 up for the Spada Beam, which we know we have. He knows I have Spada in my hand. These Boas, as much as they're cool cards, they're just not being able to summon. My reasoning for summoning the Boa here is because it's just another blocker. And I could have put a Dawn on her to potentially draw on a card, but what am I doing with that, right? So he goes 6. 6 is going to prompt my Spada. The first 6 is going to proc a Mihawk, and then here we are. He went 6 at Pacifista. I pitched the Pacifista. He went 6. I went Spada. So then he goes 6 at the Pacifista again. Oh, Hancock's got to go. Oh, Hancock's got to go. Is what it is. But I'll go ahead and use my Crocodile to bottom deck. Because if I don't use it now, what's the point? Crocodile and effectively made that Nami removed from the game anyways, right? Theoretically. Which is really, really nice. And now there's still 5 Dawn up on my opponent's side. And we can see his hand just because of the placement of the camera. We have Uda, Guard Point, Zoro, and the 5-drop Luffy that he added a couple turns back when he went for the Usopp. So we have a good idea of what's going on in this game, and if we play it slow enough, we can win just because of the overwhelming defense that our deck has. Also, Crocodile's kind of dope, eh? So he goes 5 to face, and I'm thinking of Love Beaming here just to get more draws. I know what the next couple draws of my turn are going to be, but I don't want to drop this Sunday. I was like, well, if I beam here, I get the draw, I can play Sunday again, and I can continue to give him a Sunday. Which is like the greedier play of me. But if we just block with a Sunday, now we have real attackers on the board. We have 4 attacks to his 2 life. There's a potential lethal to be seen here, but again, we know almost every card in his hand. Point and Luffy, mystery card. Okay, if we don't have too much mystery, well, it is a 2K, sorry, it's a 2K Sanji. We have actually almost access to his entire hand. So now that we have almost all the information that we possibly need, we can use that to dismantle the board and set up a lethal in the course of 2 to 3 turns. So I'm sitting here talking to Jonathan, and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna make everyone jet pistol proof and just go game, and he's like, no, you don't have to go for game here, brother. Like, he has Sanji plus guard point. As long as 1 attack gets blocked, you lose. And I'm like, but lethal. So we'll go character. We'll go leader at Nico. Nico is a bigger threat than Uda, so we'll go there. We'll go and then Moria into the Zoro. 5 at 5. And then he's like, no, actually make him pay for his 7. So he's gonna go, and I'm like, but why are we going 7? He's gonna guard point. But if we go 6 and he Sanji's, unfortunately we do have to play our, use our Crocodile here. And then we've stripped everything from his hand, and we go Flamingo Flip. And a Flamingo Flip feels really good while also keeping 2 Dawn up. Our turn is looking rather clean. Rather clean. So we know he has double Uda in hand plus a 5-drop Luffy and a mystery card. Bouncing the Udas feels like crap, but sometimes it's the world that we have to live in. So he goes and swings 6 at my face here. I do drop a 2K. And then what is he going to do from here? It's probably going to just be Uda pass. It has to be. He has to continue to outvalue me with these cards. That's what they're there for. So he's going to double Uda, gain a chopper, use his entire turn, right? His guard point's gone. There's no point in him floating any more Dawn at this point in time. So again, Deval playing it masterfully, as I would expect. But now I have 5 potential attackers to his 2 life, although he does have a chopper, right? And now this is the turn where we're like, oh, these are going. So we'll go 5 at life, right? Because 5 is going to proc interaction. We know that he has we almost know every single card in his hand. We know there's a Zoro. We know that there is a Luffy. We know that there is a Sanji. So we didn't know the Usopp. So the Usopp's gone. We'll go ahead and 7. Block. He takes a life. blocks it with that. We don't have to go for lethal here. And I'm like, well, what if we just go 9-9 or 8-9? And he's like, well, if you go 8-9 here, as long as one of those attacks are blocked, once again, we just lose the game. So we can take it slower. And if that's the case, we don't have to swing with the Crocodile. It's just no point. Let's instead swing with the Flamingo and keep 4 up. Make sure that we have a for sure life, and then -4 to bounce at Uda, right? We minus the 4 that's active right here, and effectively dealt with the board state, right? So it's going to be much, much more difficult for him to kill me. He's going to have to tax himself 5 on the Luffy. This blocker is still a blocker, so he goes 6. I take this life. And I want him to commit. I want him to get really deep in the paint here. He goes 5. I'm my leader. I take the block off the Crocodile. Then he goes Luffy, and I say, nah. Love, love, beam, draw. Love, love, beam, draw. And then now he is most certainly dead. And then that's where I cut the video. It just ends almost immediately right after that. But Jesus. Because now he definitely can't defend this board today. I have now 5 to 1 life. You're dead. You're just dead. There's nothing you can do here. He went for the Luffy as opposed to the Zoro because he had to continuously use his Udas to grab combo power. And there's just no feasible way for him to live because my board just goes 5-5, 5-6, 17 next turn, which is good luck defending that, brother. So you had to go for it off this Luffy, but there are many separate points in this video where you can timestamp it and just be like, damn. It is a long game. There was a lot of convoluted parts, so I hope that you were able to keep up with me as I tried to make it as comprehensible and digestible as possible, because this was a learning experience live, and then as I'm rewatching it, I'm learning more intricacies about it once again. But that's what these commentary videos are about. You know, it doesn't have to be tournament gameplay where we play perfectly. There is something that can be done and learned from these practice games, especially if you're practicing with these absolute Goliaths of card games, Andrew Duvall and Jonathan Rodriguez. There's a lot to be learned from them. So I hope that this video, you know, is able to educate you as much as I was educated by getting to play this match. So once again, big shout out to those guys. Thank you so much for practicing with me. They're fantastic card game players, and I'm hearing from the grapevines that there may be a TCG channel being created by them in the very near future. So thank you guys. If you got to this point of the video, God bless you. Thank you, Pirate Crew. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below. If you have something you want to discuss in the comment section, let's talk about it. There's so much that we can digest in this video, and so many different points where you guys can say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And what's really cool is that I have access to talking to these two players myself. So if you have any questions that you want to ask them, I can go ahead and ask them for you guys and hopefully give you guys the response that you need. And if you haven't joined the Pirate Crew just yet, and you really do like this sort of content, I am trying my absolute best to bring the most competitive, comprehensible content I can for One Piece. There is a lot that I want to do this year, a lot of goals I have set for myself in terms of the quality of content and the type of content that I want to create. So if you want and think that's a cool place to be, I'd suggest joining the crew. Thank you guys so much for the support you've given me so far. And as always, guys, I'll see you on the next One Piece. Later.